So we have today a very important topic within all the energy topics and the kind of energy stamp that was given to this Adria Future Summit. And we kind of center the panel around a new perspective and angle that we actually discussed deep last year as well, and kind of initiated kind of this conversation that will hopefully continue so we can follow the progress in this transitional process within our region. As Ognan introduced panelists, there is nothing more to say than that we have people who can answer and give us statements on where we are and where should we be on the road ahead of us. So I will start with you, Mr. Laković. Last year, you announced a transition plan for Pljevlja, and we kind of discussed it. What are your plans and how you will implement it? A year later, what is happening? Where are you now, and what are your plans for future?
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to announce that we are fully developing our plan for the just transition. Also, I would like to emphasize once again the importance of thermo-energetic complex in Pljevlja. We are still one of the biggest producers of energy for Montenegro. We produce between 40 and 60% of energy, stable, balanced energy for Montenegro. And as I said also in last year, if we put that in figures, we produced over 800 million euros in last 5 years on the market value of electricity that we produced. So our Montenegro is still fully dependent of our system, but we are fully determined to proceed with the transition. We had made a plan, as you said last year, that we are implementing in real time and real life. I'm happy to announce that we already made 3 companies that are fully independent from the core business. That is the final goal of transition. So we made a construction company that has 100 people that is working on the market of Montenegro. We are working with them on the projects in the north of Montenegro. Also, we made the first production factory of health and safety equipment. We have 20 people working there, and it started to producing suits. It's very fast time since we founded it. Also, we made an asphalt base who is providing municipality of Pljevlja of all needs for asphalt. So those are 3 companies that we are fully did the transition. So now we have about 150 people, first people who are did the transition in the region. So we are implementing our plan. It's going on a schedule. We have plan of total 13 companies to implement inside our coal mine, who will be totally independent from the business. And then we made all the plans for the other companies, but we have problems in financing because all these 3 companies we are financing from our own resources. And we made all the business plans for all the other companies, and we are implementing one by one what can we do in our core business that we are doing at the moment. So the other companies are the laboratory, is the security service, are the cleaning service, all the things that we have inside our coal mine that can work independently on the market. So that is the core of just transition, that we made sustainable places after the shutdown of our coal mine.
Yeah, and just for new participants of our summit, remind us, what is the time frame of your plan looking long term? Kind of how do you expect it to develop in the following years?
Well, the plan is going as concerning planning and making all the resources in Pljevlja available is going very well. Okay. So the timeline for this to be finished is 41 by National Climate Plan. It's also the recommendation for that year. But what is important for Montenegro, that we have 220 megawatts in our power plant. So we need to find substitute for the stable energy source. So we are now negotiating what will be the alternative for that, because we cannot work without stable source. So we are now negotiating, our government is negotiating about gas power plants. We're discussing a lot of other possibilities, what can we make to substitute our power plants. So we will be fully ready to shut down when we exchange 220 megawatts with some other source, and to exchange jobs for 4,000 people that are fully dependent on the municipality of Pljevlja, on the coal mine and power plant. We have 1,300 workers in the coal mine, about 300 in the power plant, and with the connected people who are working for us, they estimated that is 4,000 workplaces that we need to do in transition to have full impact on the transition.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Živković. Let's continue with you so we can get overview from the industry representative and then go to policy. You have invested a lot in environmental upgrades. That is one really complex process for apps. And having in mind that evolving systems and how they will evolve within a just transition concept, what do you think how important cooperation between countries it is in this process, as well as interdependence?
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. We started this process since I would like to communicate that we are in transition process. We are living transition process currently, and we started out our activities, I could say years ago, with the simply process of unbundling of energy sector. This is just some kind of a continuation of that, and during that process we established these, let me say, energy companies as a core business, like transmission, distribution and supply. But in other hand, we also, through the daughter companies that are working in kind of services supporting EPS, we do two things: to offer them chance to be on the market, to make some kind of services for EPS itself, but also to try to find a solution on the market, providing different kinds of services, like security services, transportation work, etc., and to see whether they could find their role on the market, they could have sustainable business on the market, and that is mostly ongoing process. And during that process, I must say, by natural retirement, reduce the employees, especially in these businesses like coal mine, like thermal production. Additionally, with this big environmental project like desulfurization, for example, like ash transport and disposal, with the waste management we establish, we try to find different kind of roles of the current employees in that businesses. So with this big, let me say, very big, I will call that factories for desulfurization, some kind of employees find the opportunities in that activities, and also the process of desulfurization have gypsum. For example, flying ash is currently very important material or resource for the decarbonization of these energy-intensive businesses like cement industry. So we would like to move forward in that direction to give opportunities to these people. Hopefully, they will recognize the potential in that, and to see whether we could furtherly improve this situation. Of course, we are pretty aware about the need of this just transition process, and believing that through the transformation of the company, we could give another opportunities in this renewable business, because basically we would like to use this overburden areas for the new projects for the renewable, especially solar, and to offer them also additional opportunities in that. And I hope that some kind of idea that might change the situation. Perhaps in that projects owned by EPS, we might give them chance to be shareholders within that new companies with kind of new opportunities for them. So that is roughly our direction, how we are going to change the situation. And during this process, I could say the smoothly, without a big social challenge, we made kind of a improvement, give opportunities, and push the people on the market to try to find some kind of another space in kind of new businesses. So that is our intention. And what I could say, since we started from 30,000 of people.
Yeah,
Is it easy? No, it is not easy. It will not be easy, but we are pretty aware that it needs a time. And I could not say, okay, it's 2030, it's 2035 or something like that. But I think this is good, the direction that through the process, some kind of good managed process, we could achieve some kind of good, just transition, keeping in mind of social impact of that, especially if we're speaking about people from mining sector.
Later, when we come back to you, maybe we can discuss about details, how you are doing that, because I can imagine that transforming the company of 30,000 employees is a pretty big endeavor. It's like transforming the whole town, at least. So, yes. So, Ivana, maybe we can continue with you. For years now, you've been working on green agenda for Western Balkans, and you have a kind of good insight into how we translate commitments into concrete steps and something that will be felt by communities and workers and region whole.
Yes, indeed. And I just wanted to applaud to two previous speakers, please. Because I think that their statements just confirm that we are already living the energy transition and just transition, and there is a huge awareness of the social aspects and dimension that RCC is particularly keen on and interested in. And since very start, the RCC has been involved in translating the commitments under the European Green Deal to the document that is adjusted to the context of the Western Balkans 6, so taking into account all the social, economic, political aspects, of course, environmental standards that are important for the implementation of those commitments that are very, let's say, ambitious for our context. And I believe that a lot has been changed since 2022, since the Sofia Declaration was endorsed, in 2021 when we had the first action plan. And what we can see with the revision of the action plan, where we discussed with the Western Balkan 6 governments what is the path for the implementation of further commitments? How do we see the actions? What are the priorities? And of course, now I can say definitely that we have a very, very strong clarity on the further steps that should be taken, not only in respect to the energy transition, but of course along climate policies, biodiversity, agriculture, transport, in order to decrease the emissions. So from the policy level aspect, we have a very clear agreement and time-bound actions. So by 2028, the government's committed to prepare just transition plans for coal regions, to link them with NECPs, and those are not abstract documents. We need predictability. We need documents that consider all the dimensions that are needed for the just transition to take place. We have launched the action that is a prerequisite for having the just transition, and this is financial mapping of financial needs for the just transition, and improving the regional dialogue with the donors in order to support these processes. And I'm happy that the RCC will cooperate with the energy community and with all the partners in order to really allow and open the investment framework for supporting these processes. And another very important dimension is labor readiness. What we have noticed is that labor and social aspects, as two previous speakers highlighted, should be an integral part of the process, because one of the out of 6 workers in the Western Balkans 6 will need reskilling and upskilling in order to prepare for this transition, because we are not talking only about the just transition, it's the whole transformative paradigm that Green Agenda is promoting in order to prepare us to align with the goals of the European Union, but of course aligning with the context. And another point I will finish with that is that we insisted to have the economic impact assessment of decarbonization. I think this is a baseline for the Western Balkan 6 government to have the evidence-based data in order to plan their policies well and in order to have the just transition really implemented, because the scale of the intervention is huge. It affects local communities. We need to ensure social fairness. We need to ensure, as we heard, that the process goes smoothly, and also while taking care of course, geopolitical challenges and ensuring the energy security at the end of the process.
Yes, thank you, Ivana. Aleksandra, UNDP worked strongly with government of Montenegro on aligning all the strategy steps toward the EU integration. And now that Montenegro is fastly approaching to EU, how do you think those deadlines, let's call them deadlines, affect all these processes in terms of pressure and speed and other developments?
Thank you, Ivana. I think that deadlines are not most important, to be honest. I think that as our introductory speaker, Ogi, said, we are talking about people here.
Yeah.
So people are much more important than deadlines and even much more important than policies and investments, etc. But they also, people's lives depend on all these parameters. And I really would like to reflect all what previous speakers were saying. I mean, okay, we do live in transition. We don't live in just energy transition. We live in transition since 90s. And even when we started in Montenegro the discussion about energy, be it just transition, call it this or that, people were quite fed up, to be honest, with the wording, because we are somehow living it all the time and we don't see the end. What I would like to say is that from the point of view of UNDP, it is, as I said, people-centered approach is the most important, which requires actually investing in people's skills and knowledge. And we just heard about upskilling and reskilling needs. We are just talking about it for years now, but nobody's doing anything. And this is the opportunity for me to say and to praise actually the energy companies in Montenegro, especially the Elektroprivreda Crne Gore and coal mine of Pljevlja, because they are investing in establishment of the Green Jobs Training Center in Montenegro, basically primarily to be focusing on Pljevlja, but also the north of Montenegro, where we have the biggest percentage or share of unemployed people, especially women and youth, and where the out-migration is the critical factor influencing the economic and social stability and the context of the region. And this is why, why am I saying this, is that the partnership with these two companies and actually the whole, and the government, but also municipality of Pljevlja, with UNDP shows that there is also something much more than just political statements and just more than strategies, policies, laws. We are front runners, and UNDP is heavily supporting the government in creating different policy documents and reporting to UN conventions, reporting to EU, to energy community. But what is important is to have a creative approach, a piece of innovation and also digitalization. And when I say that, we are not talking only about how to, let's say, take care of people who are employed today in the coal mine or EPCG or other companies. We are talking about people who are also very good experts in these companies, but who need to adhere to developments, technologies, AI, I mean, all different sectors. I'm not the engineer, so it's not me to say what needs to be done, but it's a common sense that all of us, we need to really be faster in modernizing our approach is to life and work. And this balance is definitely something that needs to be found. And just to finish, in light of our EU accession and then integration process, I mean, integration is much more, a much bigger challenge than accession. We will become part of, or members of EU, and then what? Then what? The other day. But what happened to all countries in our neighborhood with people leaving? We are a small country of 500,000 people living here. So when we open the doors and windows, I mean, this is the biggest challenge I think that is necessarily need to be addressed. That is how to attract and to retain young talents in our country after we become members of EU. And this relates not only to energy sector, but to all other sectors. And that is where investment in knowledge and providing opportunities to learn and to work is something that we need to work on.
Yeah. It is amazing how through a few minutes discussing with you, you succeeded to highlight the interconnection of topics and complexity of the topic. And thank you for that, because I think for the region it's very important to internalize that this road is not easy at all. David, thank you for being here with us today. So 2050 works with companies navigating gaps between transition commitments and delivery in many fields. And what do you see that distinguishes companies that manage the process of just transition well from those that do not, and what impact that has on companies and communities in your experience?
Thank you, Ivana, and thank you for inviting us. First of all, I would echo what the previous speaker said, and just impressed by the level of planification that is going into those plans in Montenegro, because there are lots of countries which talk about just transition in a conceptual way, but don't really apply it practically. And so it's great to see also in Serbia that this is being done at the moment. And it's really important to emphasize the important, might sound conceptual, all those terms about net zero, climate change, just transition, but we cannot succeed in a transition to fight climate change if we try to impose solution on people. So we're talking about people's jobs, we're talking about people's livelihoods, we're talking about people's income. The country where I come from, in France, tried to impose further tax on fuel in 2018, which led to a movement called the Yellow Vest movement, which some of you might be aware of, where millions of people went to the street wearing high-vis jackets and protesting because of the higher cost of life due to climate change measures. So really essential to think about the transition in terms of people impact and those unintended consequences on people in Montenegro. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to read my notes a bit more than previous speakers, because what I did is that I just looked at other examples of just transition projects in Europe, and I found a couple of examples which I found interesting. So the first one in the UK. So in the UK in 2015, the government decided to stop all coal-fired power plants by 2025. So they had this 10-year objective to shut down all the power plants fueled by coal. And in 2020, the last remaining coal power plant in the country, close to Nottingham in the center of the country, was still employing 150 people. And so what the plant management did in coordination with the trade union is that they sat down in 2020 and they designed collaboratively a transition plan for workers. So what they did is identifying new jobs that the workers at the plant could do. And second, they created a reskilling plan for them. So very much echoes what other people have been saying. And the result of that is that some of the workers from the plant went to gas-fired power plants nearby. They went to another power plant, which was a waste-to-energy plant. The plant also created a job center. They organized job fairs where they invited employers from the region to advertise job opportunities for workers. They funded external trainings for the workers, and they also provided enhanced redundancy package for the people who just wanted to leave and take the package. And this example was interesting because I found this one actually not coming from the UK government or coming from the company, but actually coming from the trade union movement in the UK. And what the unions wanted to highlight in the UK is the level of collaboration between the plant management and the unions. And the second thing they wanted to highlight is the level of anticipation. So to the plan, to your point earlier about planning towards 2041, this was a 5-year plan, and the union still felt that this was enough to plan in advance enough and find jobs for those people, find new opportunities. So this point about early planning is really crucial. The second example I wanted to bring is in Slovakia. So Slovakia in 2017 was designated as a pilot region for coal transition by the EU. And the mayor of a town called Pljevlja decided to launch a participatory process to collect ideas about what to do after the coal production is shut down in the region. And so this mayor created 4 working groups, one on the economy, one on transport, one on social infrastructure, and one on tourism. It happened that at the same time as the creation of this transition plan by the mayor, the coal company, the local coal company called HBP, actually refused to join the initiative. And they worked with the regional authorities to design a parallel process to think about the future of the region. So there was in a sense 2 parallel processes happening at the same time. This led to national campaigns in Slovakia, and the national government actually deciding to take the side of the mayor and go for the participatory approach. And the national plan in Slovakia, the Just Transition National Plan, which was designed in 2019, was based on this participatory or bottom-up approach that the mayor had created. This kind of approach involved hundreds of local people, from local entrepreneurs, workers, community groups, civil society organizations, to together define the future of the region once the coal production was shut down. And this project today is considered one of the success stories, if I can say, in the EU, of what Just Transition look like and how to work with the local community to design actions which are actually implementable for the community. I had another example, but I think it's going to take me too long in Spain.
Thank you.
May I just,
yes,
because this was inspirational for a number of reasons. And the one reason is that we actually, as UNDP, we organized a study visit to this town, Pljevlja, in Slovakia 5 or 6 years ago already now, with all the colleagues from the energy company, coal mine, municipality, local NGOs, trade unions, local TV, etc. And it was a super nice exchange of experience and ideas. However, there is a big and huge difference that we are aware of today and even at that time. The share of energy produced by this thermal power plant in Pljevlja in energy mix in Slovakia was 7%. And we are talking about 40 to 60, even 70% of the share of energy production in Pljevlja, and there is only 1 plant and 1 coal mine. So there is a huge difference. There is a bigger challenge here to talk about this, and it's, you know, and it's easier to make that kind of decision when you have nuclear power plants or gas production, etc. So I just wanted to also, to reflect and maybe provoke you to give me your, let's say, give us a say. How do you see it from that end?
So first of all, thanks for the comment. I think, Mr. Laković emphasized the fact that there is an industrial transformation, and you mentioned the fact that you need to think about what will come next. How are you going to generate the same amount of energy without the thermal plant? So
yes.
For Montenegro, there is a bigger industrial challenge than in Slovakia. I think the second difference, and I wanted to come to that, is that Slovakia also benefited from EU funds for their Just Transition project. And so a lot of those initiatives were funded through the Just Transition Fund at EU level, which I don't think Montenegro has access to at the moment.
Neither of...
But it is a great actual introduction to the next question for Mr. Laković, and that is related to finance and concrete step. How do we finance all that we kind of talked about today?
Yes, that's the main issue for the speed of transition that will take place. So, as I said, we have concrete measures that we did. We have concrete how to do the transition. And for me, I want to emphasize what is the most important thing in this process. We have a lot of institutions that are interested in helping the transition. But for now, also in cooperation with UNDP, we emphasize the meaning of including the local community, local companies, and us, who are the ground zero for the just transition in Montenegro. So some studies that can be made, a map of ways, strategies, without consulting the local community, it's maybe not too much, will not have too much effect, because we have very specific situation in Pljevlja on the north of Montenegro. We are not very infrastructure good connected. So opportunities for new jobs that will stay sustainable, it's very hard to find. So in that process, we need to communicate. We need to find that every study that is done in front of every institution has detailed research in our local community that we know. Now we are talking with UNDP about forming the training center for the people. So we need to know which jobs we want to make in the future, and are they sustainable. So if we in Pljevlja don't have a market for pottery, we will not train for pottery classes. But that's what we're trying to do. We are trying to take the structure of employers in our company that we need to do the transformation and try to find sustainable jobs for them on the north of Montenegro and the municipality of Pljevlja. Also, the financing is something that we have two types of financing that we are often confused about. So the first model is good business projects, sustainable projects. So that banks are financing. So if you have a good business plan, you will get the credit. If you don't have, you will not get the credit. But transition is not a good business plan. Transition is a very expensive process, and we are not always sure that we'll be successful. Because we have also been to the region, and we've been to Slovenia. For instance, in the city of Velenje, they finished the transition in lots of ways. They have raised through EU funds 83 million euros in their municipality. They opened lots of new companies, but the core business is stayed. They have 3,000 workers that they don't know what to do because they are still working in the mine. And they made a new law, they made a payment plan, early retirement plan, all the things, but they will have an impact when they go. But Slovenia is another story. They have better position than the north of Montenegro, so we cannot connect the experiences and say we can do this and we can do that. Every municipality, all the areas are specific. Not all the opportunities are there for us like the other countries in the European Union. So we are on the border of the non-European countries. So even when we go to EU, we will see what will present as opportunities on the north. So to conclude, I think when we do these strategies, when we do all the studies that we need to do, we need to consult the local municipality that will have a full effect of the money invested in transition. And also I take initiative as a member of the Just Transition Council of Government to imply the initiative to open the Just Transition Fund to EU for Montenegro, because the speed of the transition will depend on the speed of financing. So coal mine is very good financially for now. We had a tough year last year because we have ecological reconstruction of the power plant, so we had a shutdown about 7 to 8 months. So we cannot finance a lot of this through our company. And also our plan is to make one company holding that will control all the other companies, and we want to put them on market as soon as possible to find partners, to find. So all the studies that could be done by European institution and EU constitution or United Nations and everybody else should consult us and to get the solution together.
Yeah, and on the way of making this transition, you also have to think what are the jobs and circumstances of the future, because everything is changing so fast. So you have to think what will be for the next generation in Pljevlja or in Serbia when we talk. What are the jobs and skills that they will need, not that they need now?
Of course. As you know, the 9 out of 10 most paid jobs now, today, in this year, didn't exist. 9 of them didn't exist 20 years ago. So the world is changing rapidly. Jobs are changing, so we will see new generations are not interested in some jobs that are been in the past, so it will be a very difficult task for us.
Thank you. So, Mr. Živković, to continue on this note with renewable energy, with digitalization, the workforce skills are changing significantly. How you as a company are working on that together with them?
Yeah, basically, Mr. Laković almost explained everything since we are similar companies. Where we actually do recognize the potential, personally, I recognize the future of this, let me say, century as a century of the kilowatt hour, century of the circular economy, a century of the digitalization, meaning artificial intelligence. Yes, that will be the main potential for the future development, meaning providing a lot of electricity. So we have to find the solution for these people in the processes of the different kind of electricity production, developing some new facilities for the production, like gas-fired power plants. For example, in the future, nuclear, it is different story, different education, but of course, some kind of opportunity, new hydro, new wind, solar, etc., as potential of opportunity. Different kind of the services on the market, especially we're speaking about this waste management and circular economy, where the energy companies should find their own place on the market. Especially we are speaking, as I said, for this gypsum, for these opportunities in the construction industry, concerning this serious amount of ash still available in our businesses as a potential for kind of new opportunity in the process of circular economy. And yes, AI, digitalization. We develop a lot, we hire some kind of, in trying to find on the market some younger generation ready to be part of energy company in the process of digitalization, of AI, and how to be closer to the customer through the AI process, and to see whether we could find on the market the young people or to find within the company kind of skills that could, through the transition process, have this opportunity in this IT business. Is it easy? No, it is not easy. It is not easy. We did a lot with communication with universities to see what are the options for that. But generally, these are the directions, not perhaps businesses, but directions. As energy company, we could, or we have to, find the opportunities, find the skills, find the interest of the employees, and to see how we could go forward. Concerning financing, we took the loan from EBRD, 200 million for this early retirement, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. Okay, that support the process in one hand. But on the other hand, I could say we lose some skills. Okay, result of that is we survive during that process. Impact of that, we understood that not so big, but yes, there is impact of that on the business of the company. Meanwhile, we cover all the challenges during the process of the finding new skills, new education, new people that could replace that after retirement process. And concerning this position, I'm not sure that I will repeat that again, based on this big change on the market. And finally, this is global issues that is serious challenges for each energy business. I think we have to be very careful to try to keep the skills and to make this process smooth, socially acceptable, but we have to keep the direction.
It's such an interesting remark you made. We unfortunately don't have time to go deeper into that, but losing the people with institutional memory, let's call it like that, in the company has its effects as well. Aleksandra?
Hopefully, excuse me, hopefully AI perhaps
will remember.
Could remember.
Aleksandra, for you, I have I wouldn't like to say a tough question, but you work a lot with governments, and in front of governments in the region and in Montenegro are many hard political choices that could actually decide whether we protect vulnerable communities or not. So if you can give us, I would have to say briefly, if you could reflect on that.
Yeah, very, very briefly. What I would say is that, and this is my personal professional opinion, not the standing of my organization, but I totally identify with it. I think that the governments of the Western Balkans regions are acting in a way that there is no coherence and synergy among the ministries and the institutions, and that there are, let's say, like individual priorities or not connected priorities. So you have a Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare with its own priorities, which does not communicate with the Ministry of Economic Development or Ministry of Energy or Ministry of Education, Science, or whatever. So this is, I think, from my point of view, this is the biggest issue. That
we have a chance to unite about CBAM now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, but again, on the other side, what I can say is a good thing is that in every country there are attempts and, let's say, solid attempts and solid initiatives in creating multi-institutional, multi-sectoral bodies like national just transition councils in any kind, we call it like this or that, which actually connect all the institutions, but also connect other relevant stakeholders in the countries. And that is something that is really worthwhile mentioning as a good sign of a coherent approach.
Thank you. Thank you. Ivana and David, I will just briefly ask you, because I'm seeing waving from from Ognen.
Ignore him.
Yeah, we can do that. we can do that. Maybe you can just reflect actually on the same point briefly, because you're working a lot on kind of integrating EU standards into local economies. So where are the obstacles there, and how we can do that successfully? Briefly, please.
Well, it's a quite complex topic, but at least from the perspective of the Regional Cooperation Council and our cooperation with the Western Balkans 6 and the EU, directly and partners, with integrating or reflecting the EU priorities and standards through the Green Agenda, I would say that we found a common denominator or minimum of standards that the Western Balkans 6 committed to implement, that are not in certain areas as ambitious as the EU standards are, set aside of bilateral talks and accession processes where Montenegro is leading it. And then I believe that each of the Western Balkan 6 should prioritize and put their local and economic circumstances first before presenting it to Brussels, because Brussels provide a framework of the standards, but it's really up to us to say what are the transitional periods, what are the final dates that are to be used for the implementation of certain measures, given that the Green Agenda, when it is designed and to reflect the European Green Deal's standards, didn't have the same, let's say, starting point as for the EU member states, because you know and you are aware very well that EU developed a lot of mechanisms, including modernization fund, to support their member states in carrying out such a huge transformation, while these funds are unfortunately not available to all Western Balkan 6. Hopefully to Montenegro will be available soon through some negotiations that are ongoing, but the scale of transformation is huge, and I believe it's about a real time for the governments to understand that we should really go hand in hand with those transformations. Otherwise, we are going to pay a huge price with the introduction of CBAM. There are some projections about the money that will be lost due to non-proactive approach. So I think that now we have a really good stick to speed up with the reform process. Otherwise, we will lose the competitiveness at the EU market, and the further integration into this EU single market will be quite questionable.
Thank you. And David, for you, very quickly, please. What are the most common mistakes that could be made to kind of avoid social fallout of decarbonizations? What can we do? Briefly.
I don't know if we can talk about mistakes, but it's more watch outs, I think. So collaboration has been mentioned already. Yeah. Second point for me is managing expectation. There is no point of a national government saying we're going to create hundreds of thousands of renewable jobs when it's actually impossible to deliver. So I think working locally, because each situation is going to be different depending on the economic diversity of the town or the region, depending on people's skills, etc. So really having this local first approach and managing expectation. And the last thing is, the last important point is a listening aspect, because people in those communities, they've been living there for generations. They had the grandparents perhaps working at the mine, the great-grandparents working at the mine. You had this article, I think, in the UNDP with a quote from a young engineer in the town of Pljevlja, yes, who said that mining is in his blood, and this really struck me. And so I think this point of listening to those people who've been living there for generations is important.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great way to conclude this panel. I'll actually thank you so much, and I hope we'll see each other next year at the same panel and continue. Thank you.